right. Let's dive deep into these social media algorithms. Everybody's talking about them. Everybody wants to figure them out. We're going to break it down today.
Yeah, for sure.
So we've got a ton of questions from you listeners about how to make your message pop right on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube. Where do we even start with all that?
Well, I think the first thing to remember is that you can't treat all these platforms the same.
Okay, yeah.
They're each unique. Each platform has its own kind of like personality and its own quirks.
Yeah, like its own little vibe.
Right, totally. So you got to treat them each a little differently.
Okay, so where should we start? Which platform's got the strongest personality, maybe?
I think TikTok's a good place to start because if you're used to, say, Facebook or even Instagram, TikTok's like a whole different world.
Oh, yeah. It's that different.
It's a different beast.
Really?
It really is. And it all comes down to that For You page.
Right, right. Everyone's always talking about that For You page algorithm. What's so special about it?
So it's not just about who you follow. The TikTok algorithm it's almost like a detective. Like a really, really smart detective,
Yeah.
And it's trying to figure out what you like, what you're into, just based on like every little tap and every pause, even how long you watch a video for.
So it's like if I'm up at 2 a.m., just like binging cat videos, TikToks, like taking notes.
Exactly. It's like, okay, we got a cat person over here. It looks at everything. The videos you're watching, obviously, but then also who you're following, the hashtags you interact with, even just like the sounds you listen to.
Wow.
And it uses all that to be like, all right, I'm going to create this hyper-personalized experience for you.
So how do our listeners, a lot of them are, trying to share a Christian message, right? How do they make sure that their content is ending up on the right For You pages?
That's the million-dollar question. And it really comes down to, you got to think about it this way. The algorithm wants to give people more of what they're going to love, right? So your job is to make it really, really clear what your content is about and who it's for.
So like clear messaging, I'm hearing.
Clear messaging, absolutely. So for example, use hashtags that make sense. If you're talking about your faith, use hashtags like hashtag Christian TikTok or hashtag faith over fear, things like that.
So you're basically just speaking the algorithm's language then, in a way.
You're speaking the algorithm's language. And don't forget about captions. Make those captions engaging. Ask people questions, encourage them to comment, because the more that people interact with your video, the more the algorithm's going to be like, oh, people are loving this. Let's show it to more people.
Okay, so engagement really is king on TikTok. Got it. All right, so engagement is key on TikTok. Got it.
Yeah.
But what about Instagram? I feel like that algorithm's always changing on me.
Oh, tell me about it.
Right.
Instagram is like that friend who can't sit still, They always got to be doing 10 things at once.
Okay.
That's Instagram's algorithm for. Engagement's still super important, of course. Likes, comments, shares, saves, all that good stuff.
Right, right.
But relationships, I think they actually matter even more on Instagram.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because Instagram has always been about connecting with people, right? Like whether it's your friends or family or, even like creators you follow.
Absolutely. So you really want to think about like building a community around your content. And the more you interact with other people liking their stuff, commenting it, shows the algorithm that you're like a valuable player. You're part of the community there.
So it's not just like good etiquette to, comment on people's posts and like things. It's actually good strategy.
It's both.
Okay, good to know.
2 birds, 1 stone. Respond to comments on your own posts. Engage with people's stories. Do those Q&As. Show them you're there to actually connect, not just like blast your stuff out into the void.
Right, right. Like you're a real person. You're not just like an algorithm gaming robot.
Yeah.
Although I'm kind of curious, how does this algorithm feel about all the different types of content on Instagram?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because, we've got photos, we've got reels, we've got stories. It's a lot.
It is a lot. But good news is the algorithm loves that. It loves variety.
Okay, so more is better in this case.
I think so. Think of it like a buffet, right? The more options you put out there, the more likely it is that someone's going to find something they like and stick around.
Right, right. That makes sense. So posting a mix of content then, is that the key to keeping Instagram happy?
You got it. Play around, experiment with different formats, see what's working and what your audience is into, and don't be afraid to switch things up. I think a static feed, it can kind of get lost in the algorithm shuffle.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. Speaking of getting lost, let's talk about YouTube for a minute.
Okay, yeah.
Because their algorithm, I feel like it's laser focused on one thing.
Yeah, it's all about that watch time.
Watch time, right. It's like it wants to glue those eyeballs to the screen.
That's it. And the longer people watch your stuff, the more YouTube is like, this is great. More people need to see this.
So a 3-minute video that people actually watch all the way through is going to do better than like a 10-minute video where everyone's clicking out after 30 seconds.
You got it. It's not about making the longest video possible. It's about making content that's so good people can't click away.
Easier said than done.
Right.
What are some like practical tips? Because I know a lot of our listeners, again, they want to share a Christian message. So how do you actually make one of those can't miss YouTube videos?
Well, I'm going to say it again. Storytelling. People connect with stories. It's an emotional thing.
Okay.
So think about sharing personal stories. Maybe it's a testimony, something you've been through, or just like reflections on your faith journey. You could even do like biblical stories, but bring them into a modern context.
I see. I see. So it's about like instead of preaching at people, you're inviting them into an experience.
Exactly. And you got to be real,
Oh, yeah.
People can spot a fit a mile away, for sure.
So be yourself,
Mm-hmm.
Share from the heart. Don't be afraid to be a little vulnerable.
Yeah, it's about building trust with people.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
once you've got that trust, then you can start getting, a little bit more algorithm savvy, I guess.
Ooh, algorithm savvy. Okay, so we're getting to the good stuff now.
Right. So think about like those first few seconds of your video.
Yeah.
Those are crucial. You got to hook people right away. So start with a really compelling question or like a surprising fact or just something visually interesting. Anything to like grab their attention so they don't click away.
You don't get second chance to make a first impression. Right.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
And speaking of keeping people engaged, strong call to action. Can't forget that.
Okay.
Tell people what you want them to do. Like the video, subscribe, leave a comment, all those little things. They show YouTube, hey, people are into this.
So don't be shy about asking for what you want.
Exactly. Be clear, be specific, and make it super easy for people to follow through. I like it. Okay, so we've hit those basics, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. But I'm wondering about like some of those deeper algorithm secrets.
Yeah.
Is there anything our listeners should know, those like tricks of the trade? Like when people say hack the algorithm, it always sounds kind of, I don't know, mysterious, What does that even mean?
It does have a little bit of like a secret society kind of vibe to it,
Right.
but it's not really as shady as it sounds. Honestly, it's more about like understanding what the algorithm already likes and then using that, but in a way that feels authentic to you.
So it's like you're playing by the rules, but you're playing smart.
Exactly. And one of the biggest rules, consistency. Algorithms, they love people who show up regularly and who engage with their people consistently.
So none of this like disappearing for a month and then coming back and being like, hey, I'm back, and expecting it to like blow up.
Probably not going to work. Think of it like any relationship. If you only see someone every like once in a blue moon, it's kind of hard to build that trust, that connection.
Yeah, for sure. Consistency is key. Okay. So posting regularly, that's one. What else can people do to kind of give these algorithms what they want?
Well, we keep saying it, engagement. They're all about the engagement. So think about how you can spark conversation in those posts. Ask questions, do a poll, create content where people will want to tag their friends.
Yeah, that's smart.
Like I've seen a lot of Christian creators doing things like, hey, drop your favorite Bible verse in the comments, that kind of thing.
Right, yeah.
It's all about making people feel like they're part of something.
Building that community. We talked about that with Instagram too.
Exactly. And it goes beyond your own content too, Engage with other creators, leave thoughtful comments, share posts you like.
So it's about being a good digital citizen, basically.
Exactly. And the algorithm, it picks up on that. It notices those things.
That's so interesting. Okay, so we've got consistency, we've got engagement, we've got community. What about those trends, though? Because there are always new trends popping up. How can our listeners tap into that without feeling like they're, being inauthentic to themselves?
Such a good question. It really comes down to, like, discernment. Because not every trend is going to be a good fit,
Right.
for every message.
How do you know when to jump on a trend and when to be like, this isn't for me?
I always say, ask yourself, does this feel right? Does it line up with my values? Can I put my own spin on it? My own, like, faith-based spin? And most importantly, will this actually resonate with the people I'm trying to reach?
So you're not just going to do the latest dance craze if it doesn't feel right.
Probably not. Unless you're really, really good.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, trust your gut. If something feels forced, your audience can tell.
That's such a good point. So it's about finding those places where your message and like what's already working online kind of intersect.
You got it. And the thing is, those algorithms, they're always changing. So what works today might not work tomorrow.
So you got to stay on your toes.
Exactly. You
Ah,
got to stay curious, keep experimenting, you know? See what works.
that's part of the fun of it all, right?
It is. It's an adventure.
It is an adventure. Well, I think we've covered a ton of ground today. Before we wrap up, any last words of wisdom for our listeners?
Don't get so caught up in the algorithm stuff that you forget why you're doing this in the first place.
Yeah, that's so important.
Create content you love, engage with your people, and trust that the right people will find you.
It's about connection, not just clicks.
Exactly.
Love that. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of social media algorithms. We hope you feel ready to get out there, share your message, and reach even more people. Until next time, keep diving deep.